Hello, welcome to day 22 of starting up in Canada. I'm very sleepy today because of I have most of my network in India and also some of my team members are in India, so I have to spend a lot of time in talking to people in India, and that caused me to talk up till 2 a.m. in the night, and I lost my sleeping hour, and then I could not sleep the entire night. So this is something that I need to correct. I don't know what is the solution, but I will have to find a way to correct this. So another update is like I've been getting more traction on the funding side. So now I have two pre-seed investors in pipeline. By pipeline, I mean that they are talking to me. So they're not decided, neither they have rejected. They are waiting for more information, more steps. So I think it's a process where people take time to get comfortable. And pre-seed means like seed round is where I think it is funding made to create a product. These definitions are not actually very clear to me either, but by various conversations I got to know because I have an idea and I do not have a product, so I'm eligible for a pre-seed round. So it's just a terminology. And in US Canada side, I think the terms are usually the typical terms are $300,000, around $300,000 investment in exchange for 10% equity or 15. But usually whatever these deals are, they are fixed, like they're not very negotiable. It's like an industry standard. So if you say it's a pre-seed, then everybody will think that this is the usual standard, this much equity, this much money. And yes, deals can vary, from one deal can vary from another a little bit, but more or less in the same range. Then you say seed round, and it has a different range and different equity percentage. And so I'm not here to challenge the norm, I'm just looking to get forward. And now another thing, now last thing that I want to talk is like I've been getting more momentum on the team side also. So I've had more people show me interest to join the startup, which is very flattering to see that people are having this faith, even though I do not have very concrete steps and ideas to move forward. But I think one of the reasons is also because in startups it is not possible to have concrete plans. So if you can show that you have a way to deal with the uncertainty and you understand the risks and how to manage them, then it does show a sort of a conviction to people, even if it doesn't show a straight path. So I've been thinking like, okay, so I have particularly, for example, one or two people who I really liked when I met them and they were interested in joining, and now I wanted to figure out like, should I just cut them out because I just need like, two people to start a company, like two co-founders, or should I think in a different way? Because should I take a more leadership perspective where I have a mission, and this mission is this abstract entity called startup. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is something abstract which will have a name in future, a brand name, a product associated with it. But right now there's nothing of that sort, but there's an abstract idea which I want to succeed at any cost. And so the leadership perspective for me would be to allow and add more people and more force to make this idea successful, and in the process of course make money for myself but also for everyone. And maybe it is possible that I just take a solo founder or two co-founders perspective and focus on the idea, the killer idea, and that killer idea will generate returns. And if there are only two co-founders, it will split between only these two people, otherwise we'll split with so many people. But I think that perspective is very unrealistic and little immature, because this myth of a killer idea that will just grow, run on its own, is probably just a urban myth or something like that. Or some people of course get very lucky with it, but I don't know. Some of the biggest companies are built with that principle, but you cannot replicate it, is what my assumption is. So I think for me, an average person dealing with the average odds, or actually above average person dealing with the average odds, for me, I have to work very hard to make an average idea succeed. Now, I'm not like advocating that we should look for average ideas, but you have to work with what you have. You cannot just keep on waiting forever. Also, second thing is that nobody really knows what idea is a good idea until it just runs, and that happens pretty late after you make a product, maybe 1 or 2 years down the line. And as of now, you there's no way of knowing which idea is average, which like idea is a super hit idea. So I have to work with an assumption that my idea is average, that yeah, people like it, most people will be willing to try a product if I make it, and there's a chance that it will work out, but it is not something that people will be dying to just use, or people will be using it in a more addictive way, like people use Facebook, unpredictable and addictive, like a wildfire. Facebook and TikTok have that kind of trajectory. So to make this idea succeed, I have to make this entity startup succeed, I have to just add more people, more force to it. And I think the belief here is, as long as one and one become more than two. So for example, so that happens when there's a complementary skills and everybody is much above average and they together create something more unique. So one and one is more than two, maybe three or four or five, then actually you're creating value for each other, and you're creating the size of the pie, and now the your share of the pie, although smaller, but its absolute value is bigger, right? That's that thinking. So now actually the biggest question comes, like, with this, once we understand that how to really, what kind of, like, when you're trying out with so many people, what kind of terms you can, like, how can you actually, what do you give equity to everyone, but how can you give equity so soon, when you don't even know whether this person will be a right fit or not? So I think this video is already 7 minutes past, so maybe this will be that next video topic. Take care.